Okay, so pretty soon I'm about to undertake the biggest trip I've ever done on my motorcycle. I'm doing a 1,600 kilometer ride over 2 days. Let me tell you how this happened. So if this is your first time here, my name's Rob and this channel is Throttle Reborn. And on this channel, I talk about my journey coming back to riding after a 30-year break. So if you've ever seen any of my previous videos, you'd know I'm part of the Harley owners group here in Brisbane, and they do rides out for the local chapter members. Now, one of those rides is 1,600 kilometres over 2 days from Brisbane, Queensland to Tamworth in New South Wales and back the following day. Now, originally, I didn't think I was ready for a trip like this on my Heritage, but the challenge was put down by Grant, who also watches this channel and is also part of the Harley owners group, and basically put a challenge to me to say, hey Rob, are you going on the Tamworth trip? And initially I was hesitant, but because Grant put it out there, my ego got the best of me and thought, yeah, I can do this, and show Grant I can do it. Originally, I didn't think I was ready for this ride because I've only been riding for a year, and the longest trip I've ever done is 345 kilometers non-stop in about 4 hours. So I have a pretty good idea of how the Heritage feels on a longer ride, but this is like 7.5, maybe 8 hours in one day. It's really going to be a challenge. So when someone puts a challenge out there, and on a channel like this where it's all about riding, I just had to take that up and put myself to the test. Can I do it? 1,600 kilometers in 2 days, my biggest ride ever. Now, if you know anything about these iron butt rides, they usually are 1,600 kilometers over 24 hours. Now, this particular ride isn't sanctioned by the Iron Butt Association. It's just a ride that's been organized by the Harley owners group, kind of changed the rules a little bit just for safety reasons. It's 1,600 kilometers over 48 hours. So it's just a social ride based on the principles of Iron Butt, but it's not an officially sanctioned ride by the Iron Butt Association. Now, I'm in my mid-50s and about to tackle the biggest ride I've ever done. I really don't know how difficult it's going to be, but I'm up for the challenge. Now, this 1,600 kilometer ride over 2 days is kind of like my anniversary ride. On the 31st of March, 2025, I purchased my 2019 Harley-Davidson Heritage as my comeback bike. Now, initially, I was pretty scared of this bike and it took me a little bit of getting used to the bike. I did a video on how I got over those fears of coming back to a heavy bike like a Harley-Davidson after a 30-year break. So most of the riding I did so far was, when I first got my bike, was shorter rides just around locally, progressing over to 1 hour, then 2 hours, and also did a trip from Brisbane to Bundaberg and back, which was about 4 hours each way. So they're the longest trips. It was about 345 Ks each way. So that's the longest trip I've done. I've done about just under 4,000 kilometers on this bike in the past year. And I know that's not a lot compared to a lot of people, but for someone coming back to riding, for me, that's actually quite good for someone who only rides on the weekends. But now we're gonna push it to 1,600 kilometers in 2 days, going with the Harley owners group. And that is going to be interesting to see how I can cope with that at 55 years old. So as I mentioned, this is going to be run by the local Harley owners group that I'm a part of. There's going to be a pre-ride briefing a week before we go, and that is just to understand what's going to happen. Like I said, there's about 31 riders that are going. We're going to break down into smaller groups, and it's all going to be documented in terms of fuel stops, where we are, etc. Now, we're breaking down into smaller groups to make fuel stops easier, because you can imagine 30-something bikes coming into a service station trying to fill up. So we're breaking up into smaller groups and progressing from there. So each group will kind of look after themselves until we get to Tamworth. Now, I know this isn't a traditional 1,600 kilometers over 24 hours, which is something I probably would not do. This is great for someone like me who wants to get a feel for longer riding, and to be able to do it with other Harley owners group members is, for me, pretty cool. Get to have a great experience with those people and really enjoy the ride. Now, I know in my previous hog videos, some people object to the Harley owners group and saying it's not very good, etc. But for me, I think it's fantastic. This is a ride I probably would not do on my own. Maybe when I get some more experience, I might, but this is not something I would just go out and do. Because they are organizing it, because it's part of a group, because it's well structured by them, I feel more comfortable going on that ride and looking forward to doing that ride with other people. And like I said, what pushed me over the edge was Grant. This is on you. Let's just see how I cope, and I hope you cope too. So let's talk about how I'm preparing for this ride. Now, if you've seen my other video where I rode back from Bundaberg or Kelly's Beach, which is 345 kilometers, which I pretty much did non-stop, almost 4 hours in the saddle, I did learn a couple of things about how I can make this bike a bit more comfortable for longer rides. Now on the Kelly's Beach trip, I had my family with me. They were in our four-wheel drive, so I didn't need to bring any bags or backpacks or anything like that to carry anything because we could put all that in the four-wheel drive. So for that, I was fortunate. But on this ride, I'm gonna have to carry my own stuff. Now this is an overnight stay and we're staying in a motel for one night. So I do need to bring some stuff. I also need to bring my recording gear, a laptop and that kind of thing for the videos and any extra clothes and things that I wanna bring. Now, I think the biggest thing that I took away from the Kelly's Beach ride back home was getting some highway pegs, especially for something that's going to be pretty much an all-day ride. Now, I did purchase some from Amazon. They were about $150 Australian. They had some good reviews. I'm hoping they're okay. They're on their way. They're being shipped at the moment and they should be here in a few more days. But I'm going to be able to put them on my front drop guard here. They'll be mounted there and give me a bit of extra opportunity to stretch my legs out. So that was one of the things I found my legs were getting a little bit tired. I needed a bit more flexibility in terms of where I was putting my feet. Now, the other thing I need was a luggage bag. So for this ride, I will be putting on the passenger backrest and putting my passenger seat back on because I'm going to put my luggage bag on that seat and attach it to my sissy bar. It may be able to double as a backrest, I'm hoping, because a separate backrest is actually very expensive and I just didn't think it was worth it. Now, some of the bags I looked at for this trip were the Harley Overwatch Weekender bag, which retails in Australia for around $580. Unfortunately, because of that price, I decided to pick a different brand, and the brand I went with is Nelson Rig. Now, the bag I picked was a Nelson Rig Getaway. I think it's version 2. It does everything that the Harley Overwatch Weekender bag that I was looking at does, but it's only about $350. So it was a significant saving. And while I do like the Harley bag, that difference in price for me didn't make sense. Now, the Nelson Rig bag also comes with a lifetime warranty. It has a bag cover for the rain, just like the Harley Overwatch one does, but lifetime warranty versus a 2-year warranty with a Harley-Davidson bag. So while I did love the Harley-Davidson bag, that price difference was just too much. And I'm not spending that much money on a bag that is basically doing the same thing and provides what I would consider much better value. Okay, so for this trip as well, I'm going to be going over the whole bike myself. I'm going to be looking at everything, just making sure there's nothing to be concerned about with the bike. I've already checked my tires and the front one is starting to get a little bit more worn. The back one was new when I purchased the bike, so there's probably about 3,000 kilometers left in the front one, I think. So it should be sufficient for this trip. Overall, I'm pretty confident that the bike's okay. I'll check all the oils. I know it's only done about 2,000 kilometers with this oil, so it should be fine. And the bike's running great, so I don't really have any concerns about the bike. Now, when I get back, I probably will take it in to get a full service because it'll be about a little bit under a year since I did the oil change and did my own checks, but I want to take it in and get a qualified Harley-Davidson mechanic to have a look at the bike and just check everything over and get it ready for the next year's worth of riding. Now, the thing that really hurts me inside is when I look at my front forks. They were really good when I bought this bike, but as I'm riding it on these longer trips, I've got some stone chips. That's going to happen. They hurt me a little bit inside every time I see them, but it is part and parcel of riding, and probably better to get stone chips and get this all re-powder coated in another year's time or so when it gets a little bit worse than look at it in the garage. After all, that's the reason why you get your bike, to go out and ride it. So while there is a lot I can do to prepare both myself and the bike for the trip, one of those factors that I have no control over and are not able to see at this time is the weather. So that's going to be interesting. I'm hoping we get some good weather. Hopefully it's not pouring down with rain. That's probably my only concern. I do have to get some wet weather pants. I do have my original wet weather jacket when I used to ride 30 years ago, so just some wet weather pants, a second pair of gloves, which I also have as a backup, and maybe another set of boots. So there we have it. I'm about to embark on the biggest ride I've ever done, 1,600 kilometers in 2 days, and I am excited and a little bit nervous at the same time. It should be great. I'm looking forward to doing it with the Harley Owners Group. I think it's going to be fantastic. Next week, I'm going to be doing a Harley Owners Group ride, just one of the local rides, but coming up in the next few weeks, stick around because you're going to see how this 1,600 kilometer ride happens over a 2-day trip, going from Brisbane to Tamworth. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Stick around and we'll see you on the next one.